According to the Rav the Rebbe, to make a סיום from Rosh Chodesh Mנחem until 15 B'Ov, we have the honor today to have a Choshev in German, our Dr. מאיר זאקלאס, who's going to make a סיום on מסכת תמיד. As the Rebbe says that every סיום should be included in Avas Yisrael and Tzedakah. Also, we wanted to use this opportunity to wish Omenschen, unser Teirun, Reb Meir, haben a Shnas Broche v'Atzloche in everything, in Gesund, Parnose, Archove, and everything should be the best. And we soll sicher sein, soll sein schon die Sion von Goles, denke von mir ad Mamesh. Dr. Zachas, bevakasha.
Amen. Take it away. Sim is going to be on the Masechtas Tamiid. The last Mishnah talks about the Mizmorim that the Levim used to say in the Beis Hamikdash every day was a different mitzvah. So the Mishnah starts as Shir Shohei Levim Oinu Mikdash, the Shir that he used to say in the Beis Hamikdash Bayom Rishon on the first day, which starts to explain how Hashem created all of existence in its potential form. The Sheni on the second day, on the second day was the separation of the upper and the lower spheres. On the third day, where the land was uncovered, which was previously covered by water, which was the creation of the sun and the moon. And then which was the creation of the birds and the fish. And Bashishi Hashem Malach Geus Lavish on the sixth day the world was completed and man was formed, man was made on that sixth day. The Shabbos on Shabbos it says Mizmer Shir Yom Shabbos, Mizmer Shir Yom Shabbos, and the Mishnah explains what it means. Mizmer Shir Lasid Lave. This is a mismah for the future. L'yom shekolei Shabbos, in the day that is entirely Shabbos. U'menucha l'chayolam, in a day that is a rest leading to everlasting life. Now the Rebbe makes a siyum on Masechtas Tamiid, which is found in Chelik Zayin in the Parshas Bachur. And the Sikha begins by focusing on the pasuk that says in Parshas Bachur, "V'ishba'ti chaya roa min ha'aretz." So what is being said there is Im Bachur telechu. If you follow what the Eibishter wants you to follow, then he is going to have the wild animals withdrawn from the earth. So the Rebbe brings down that in Toras Kohanim that there is two opinions on how to apply the phrase in times of Mashiach, because obviously Hishbati Chayei Min Ha'aretz hasn't happened yet, and it's obviously referring to the times of Mashiach, just like the Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbos. So there's two opinions. He brings down Reb Shimon, who says Mashvisim Shlo Yazuku, that these animals, these wild animals, will refrain from doing damage, which means that they'll change their instinct. They will still exist, but they won't be wild. They'll take the wild out of the wild animal. And the support for Reb Shimon is the pasuk Shayohu v'gor zev im keves, that the wolf will dwell with the lamb, implying that the nature, the instincts of the wild animals will change, and there'll be a change in surah only. In other words, the wild animals will still exist, but they will now be not wild, they will be tame. The other opinion of Hishbati Chayei Min Ha'aretz is that of Rabbi Yehuda that the Rebbe brings down. And Rabbi Yehuda says, Mavirim min ha'olam, that in fact the wild animals will be in ganzen removed from the world. Their existence will be a metzius, they will become extinct, finished. Now, the question, of course, is right away on Rabbi Yehuda, if all the wild animals are going to be completely destroyed, what does he do with the pasuk, V'gor zev im keves? So Rabbi Yehuda proposes that there actually is going to be two phases of Mashiach, Trei Charuf. The first phase is exactly that, V'gor zev im keves, where the wolf will dwell with the lamb. But then there will be a second phase that's called Mavir min ha'olam, that they will be completely destroyed. So that Sikha actually delves into the issues of Chad Charuv or Trei Charuv, which is either one phase of Mashiach or two phases of Mashiach, and also debates whether the Mizmor Shir Shayim, which in our Mishnah refers to the future, the Rebbe brings down, and there's a Brisa in Rosh Hashanah that says that in fact it refers to Ma'aseh Breshis. Both of these things we won't discuss. If you can be ma'ayin in the Sikha if you want to get more information on that. What we will try to do is to clarify, because it's interesting, at the end you'll see the opinions of Reb Shimon and Reb Yehuda. The Rebbe brings down the Rogatchover, who has this special knack of finding a common thread or the underpinning of a Tana when he gives his opinion, how it flows right through Shas, and he brings down the Rogatchover when he's talking about Reb Shimon and the Reb Yehuda. And the first situation that the Rebbe brings up is Bir Chometz. It says in Bir Chometz, Tashpisu ser mi botechem, you have to remove the Chometz, the leaven, from your house. And Reb Shimon and the Chachamim say, Mefarer v'zeir l'ruach oy layam, that you can crumble it up, you can make it in shtikalach, and you can throw it either in the wind or in the sea. And here, all you've done is changed the tzura, you've changed the form. So there is what they call a bittul hachibur. The attachment has now become batul, but the mitzias, the crumbs, still exist. So according to Reb Shimon, the tzura is what counts. According to Reb Yehuda, he says, no, that's not good for Bir Chometz. Bir Chometz has to undergo sreifa. Sreifa means that it has to be completely exterminated and destroyed. He holds bittul hamitzias. You'll ask the question, when you burn chometz, you're going to get some offer as well. So Rabbi Yehuda answers that the ash that you're going to get is a metzias chadasha, and it's not the same metzias, so there is a complete bittul hametzias. The next example that Rebbe brings is from Shabbos, and it says, V'yom hashvi tishbos, on the seventh day you're supposed to cease from doing all your work. And the Rebbe gives two examples, and he details the examples in the Sikha, which is quite interesting. First he talks about a malacha she'ena tzricha l'gufa, and he gives the explanation. He says a malacha is performed, the malacha is performed intentionally, but it's being done for a secondary purpose, not the primary purpose. And the Rebbe goes further, gives an example. If you're going to extinguish a log fire because maybe you fear nochrim are going to see it, they're going to come and they're going to damage your house, or because you're extinguishing because there's a sick person and you want to let him sleep, in other words, you're not extinguishing the fire for its primary purpose, which is usually to prepare charcoal, but for a secondary reason. So Reb Shimon would say, potter. Why? Because the tzura of the malacha has changed. It's not a malacha in its complete sense anymore, because the primary purpose has changed, and therefore he's potter. But Rabbi Yehuda, who holds that the mitzias is important, he's going to say it's chayiv. Why? Because bottom line is, the act was actually done, was actually performed. So the mitzias was performed, and he says chayiv. The other example that the Rebbe gives on Shabbos is a davar she'ena miskaven. That's a malacha that didn't have kavona, and again, the Rebbe gives a very detailed example. If you're pouring cold water into a hot metal cup, and if your intention is to warm the water, but unintentionally, this will strengthen the kli, which is known as the Gemara Malachas Hatzorfim, and then it is considered the malacha of refining. So even though your intention wasn't that, the malacha actually took place. But Reb Shimon says, who again, for him the tzura is important. Since the malacha wasn't done with that intention of strengthening the kli itself, so it's now a different tzura, and it's mutter. Whereas Rabbi Yehuda says, no, it's asur, because again, the bottom line is, the malacha was done. So we have basically two opinions. Reb Shimon holds that tzura, that the form, is what counts, and Rabbi Yehuda says it's mitzias is what counts. So which opinion do we follow? So the Rebbe deduces through a long part of the Sikha that the halacha is ultimately like Reb Shimon. Like what Shimon says, that the tzura is what counts. So when he says mashvisin shelo yaziku, he says that the wild animals will still exist, but their nature, their instincts will change. So we're not getting rid of the wild animals. They retain their existence. Only their nature has changed. And what's the hayra that the Rebbe says? The hayra is that the ikr and the shlemus of our avodah is not to run away from or detach ourselves from the world. Don't ignore or reject the world. It's a mitzias. It's there. But to make the world, which is full of mole klippus v'sitracha, into a dira yisborach. The idea is to change the form, to change the tzura only. That's the point. That's the point of changing the tzura, but not its existence. Don't reject the existence. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to go from tamei to make things kaddish. We're trying to go from darkness to light. We're trying to go from evil to goodness and kindness. And like Rabbi Zalman said, we're going from sinas chinim to avos yisrael and to tzedakah. And with that, we create a dira b'tachtonim. And in the Rebbe's words, and durch them, and through that, that zayin zeicher, that zeicher zayin, we will merit zum kiyum ha'yud, to fulfill the mission, v'hishbati chayra min haaretz, we will get rid of the chayra from the land, zum yoim shekulei, to the day that's entirely Shabbos, nunuchol l'chayalamim, that's an everlasting life with the coming of Mashiach to Kingdom b'meir b'meinu. Amen.
Amen.
Wait, let me say Hazim Aloch B'zman Shekei Gadol Slik Aloch.
I have my own book. Yeah,
Go ahead. Amen.